My brother-in-law, Jeremiah Boles, opened one of the original pilot locations in Lynchburg, Virginia. He has been able to achieve success with his location, build an awesome team, and enjoy the benefits of a semi-absentee ownership. In this podcast, we are going to discuss the significance of believing in the system, becoming a business to be sought after, and achieving the freedom to do what you want. After achieving all of this, Jeremiah is now starting all over again with a new franchise location in Virginia Beach. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother and another gutter.
Yep.
All right. So I'm so interested to hear in what you've learned and find out what's different as you start a new location now versus when you launched one of the first pilot locations. But first, can you tell everyone what you were doing in 2009 and how you got started with the brothers?
Yeah, 2009, I was a college baseball coach, living in my truck, just kind of like scrimping by. I love baseball. I was like a grinder, just whatever came my way. But I was like so inundated with baseball, with the players, with working 80 hours a week, making maybe $25,000 a year. Like it was work camps, work the field, just anything you can get.
Wow.
But like that's where you start. You're at the bottom of the totem pole trying to coach and develop players, and it was basically, yeah.
Wow.
I was inundated. So
I remember, I can't remember at what point, but you were selling Christmas trees from a parking lot, like for extra work too.
That's right.
I remember going by and seeing you.
Yeah, it was right when I was dating your sister.
Yep.
So I was working a Christmas tree farm because I stayed or whatever, and you make tips and you do that sort of thing. And it was a good atmosphere too. So I was just doing whatever to get Christmas money. So
And when did we first meet? It was Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'd overheard you and Ken, Rebecca invited she was successful. She had like an awesome job. You know,
She's in pharmaceutical sales, bought a house as a single girl.
Yeah. And here I am, homeless, coming in with living out of my truck, sleeping in the baseball house. Probably shouldn't say that on air because nobody knew that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Statute of limitations or something.
But living in the baseball house. So I came and she invited all the I guess it would say like the 25-year-olds that were still around.
All the single guys.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah, she was like, "Oh, it was like a game show."
Yeah,
we didn't know
you
we were
didn't
part
know
of.
this, but we were picking them out for you, for her.
Yeah, that's right. So so all the people that were still in town came over for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so I remember being there, and I was sort of different than the other people, the other guys. I wasn't friends with them, but I knew Becca from college. And so I had heard you and Ken talking to them. I was just overhearing it because I wasn't I was doing something else, but I overheard, hey, we're thinking about, open up multiple branches. I don't even think I heard the word franchise, but I think it was oh, we can do this over again. We're creating systems that we can, you know what I mean? Because it was after you had already been on a truck and you were in the office now doing website stuff. So it was Kenny was pulling off of a truck where it was actually, you guys were actually running your own business well.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of see that you guys could get off, and it was cool. It was fun to never would I thought when I overheard it that. I'm like, oh, what can I do?
Yeah.
That one question came up. Oh, what can I do now that we want to stay in Lynchburg and live here?
Yeah. And what was the what was the switch? So you heard us talking about that, and you were at pretty much a crossroad at that point, right?
Yes.
That you had to make a life decision. And I don't really remember everything that came there, but all of a sudden, remember out of nowhere, you're like, dude, I want to do it. And we're like, we're not ready. But what was the catalyst that turned that?
So the long hours of baseball, I love baseball. That's all I knew. It was your identity, right? So if, it's if I'm not in baseball, then who am I? It's kind of
I hear you.
Who am I? But I remember saying, like, there was a job that opened up, recruiting coordinator. It paid pretty well, but it was in Providencetown, and it was at Brown University. So, like, I had a choice. Me and your sister were serious at that point. I'm not sure we were probably engaged.
Closer. Yeah, probably.
So it was something like that. So that's a whole nother story where Kenny about killed me driving to propose.
I remember that.
But anyway, it was like, yeah, so I was like, man, I really like Lynchburg. I want to stay here. Becca's got a great job. She's got a house. I'm like, man, it's like instant, like stability.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, I'm going to like pull away from all this, bring her to a place that there's no community there. We don't know anybody. And so I was like, man, I'm like, you know what? What else is there? So then that popped into my head, that little nugget that was in Thanksgiving. And it was like, hey, would you guys open one here? You know, and it was like, you guys had kind of said, oh, Jonathan, who works with us, which is your other brother-in-law, he's thinking about doing it. So like New Jersey. So it was like, there was like this little rolling ball that was like kind of kept the conversation going and went from there.
That's awesome. And I remember thinking, because I remember you going down the path. All right, I take this job, but what's the end goal? It's like assistant coach, head coach. And I think you said something like, you know what I realized? To be a head coach, you have to hate your family. Like, because you're never going to see them or something like that.
Yeah,
You'll just,
it's hard.
It's like,
Super hard to make it.
Yeah, you basically want to be away from your family to live that kind of life. And I remember that. So yeah, we got the ball rolling. I remember specifically going, we don't have as much as we want to give you. We're not a franchise yet. We're not finished building what, in my mind, needed to be built. And you're like, I don't care. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I mean, it was fun. And so let's just for maybe a couple minutes, just talk about how it started, maybe that first year or two of business.
Yeah. It was like, it's like, hey, you need a truck. That was like the main thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you need a truck to run gutters out.
And we gave you all sorts of money, right?
No,
funny. Nothing.
Nope. Yep, nothing.
Just our knowledge.
So like, did the research, like any guy, when you go to buy something, you're like researching everything. Like, what's the best truck? What do I need? Like, so I found a truck in Florida. I love to travel. That's like the baseball in me. Like I love hotels. I love to travel. I love flying because, I grew up semi-poor, so we didn't get to do all that. But anyway, flew down to Florida, drove a truck up from Florida, and parked it in front of my house. Looked at, we like letter. Did we letter the truck? We lettered
did.
it.
I don't know when, but we did.
Yeah. So it had like we took pictures. Like I came up in December or January. We had that nice winter coat on our faces, and we were super pale. And we all took this awesome picture, and they were like, let's put it gigantic on the side of a truck. So the logo was not even there. The awesome cartoon picture.
Three faces,
So it was
three brothers.
Faces, just like gigantic, like from the chest up.
That's true.
And like,
such a good logo.
we were so chubby looking. So funny. But anyway.
I didn't have a beard.
Yeah, didn't have a beard, and I was like, it showed like zits and stuff. Anyway, but then we got that lettered up, got a machine, put it in the back, parked it in front of this. It's like I didn't have like a huge yard, so I lived in a neighborhood. So it was like
that's funny.
they were like the houses were like 10 feet apart.
Go around your truck every day.
Yeah, so I parked it on the side of the street. I had. I remember putting loading the coils. We just talked about this outside with the new guys training. I remember putting the coils in my little Nissan Frontier and backing it up to the back of the truck, like loading it in, like teetering the 2x6 and 2x4 until I got it up to where it went. It was like, and I loaded it by myself. You're talking 350 pounds. And so like doing that and then ordering material and running jobs. So I think I would do estimates in the morning time in the box truck. So I would do 2 estimates, like one at 8, one at 9, and I would go do a job at 10 o'clock till the end of the day. And so, you're running estimates, you're doing the office stuff, you're calling, and I kept this little tiny booklet with me that if I was like on a ladder somewhere, like I could answer the phone and write down who it was. Like previous, hey, we want to go ahead with that job. And
it's a pretty good system.
Yeah, it was great.
And you basically, we were improving our systems and we're trying to run them down to you. Some were okay. I mean, the systems were good, but the ability for like a owner, operator, like everything that you were wearing, all those hats, it just was too much.
Yeah. And so it was like, it was one of those things. You guys didn't put a lot of pressure on us to get employees. Like, who was going to show up? Like, you need an office admin, okay, where I don't have an office. Or like, can Becca do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like, you guys were like, these systems were awesome, but it was really hard for a one-man kicking band, So it was like, it was one of those things where we didn't have anything. We were just going on like, here's the piece of paper, and it was paper. It wasn't digital.
Oh yeah.
It was like, write it on here, goes in this pile. Kind of not as archaic as Kenny before Ryan, where he had the shoe boxes.
Yeah.
Like, unsold.
We had a CRM. Remember that?
Yeah. So the CRM, which did not talk very well to anything.
I built a $25,000 server so that you guys could we had the same database. We could get really caught up in the fun stuff of that. But really, I think the first couple of years, you basically kind of had to figure out a hybrid of our system that worked for you.
Yes.
Right? And it wasn't exactly our system. It wasn't, but you were basically pivoting to make it work for you. And then we started to franchise, and you were growing steadily year over year, right? You said you basically doubled every year up to
60% every year. So like 50 the first year, 110 the second year, 225 the third year. So I kind of hovered around 550 for a little bit, and then like I started like, man, I got to get an office. Like I was sort of stuck at 850. For a while. So like I did 850 for probably 3 or 4 years. I know we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of where there's a big switch.
Yeah.
So I think you got around 800. Your business was on, I don't want to say autopilot. It was on Jeremiah pilot. Like you knew where all the holes were and you could plug them.
Yes.
At any time, whether it was an admin issue, a field issue, a sales issue, you kind of had it. I remember you saying, I don't want a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah.
Like, like that's too much. And like, you just kind of were like, you know what? I'm all right with this. You did some other ventures. You built a house for someone. You built your own house. Yep. You were kind of dabbling in some stuff. And then something changed.
Yes.
Let's talk about that change.
So after I had done, 850, 900 for like probably, I was just under $1 million.
Your favorite thing was like at the conference every year, I could have done $1 million if I really concentrated on my business.
Yeah. So I always had like this lame excuse, right?
Yeah.
So like, and when, Jimmy and Jesse came on, they were crushing, they were doing everything. But, Jimmy, I was sort of like Jimmy, like he had Jessica, like a helper, like somebody like bleeding it too. And so
she's the boss lady.
Yeah, boss lady. I kind of like brushed that off, like, oh, that's two, like that's all right. So what am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna do this? So then I met, Luke called me up one day. I don't know if you know his story. Like he just said, hey, my dad needs gutters. What do you think? Or Dave. And then Dave was like, Luke, you should do this. Well, Luke is like, man, he had the faith.
He did.
Right? He's like,
the blind faith.
Yeah, you tell me what to do, I'll do it. I'm a rule follower. Like I'm like a guidelines guy. Like let's do this. So like, I saw him do it. He was, he did $1 million his first year. Did he do $1 million his first year? He was close.
His first calendar year, his first season, I forget because they started like sometime during the middle of the year. But his first full calendar year, he did over $1 million.
So yeah, his first calendar year, over $1 million. I'm like, what the?
Because no experience, no partner,
Yeah. He didn't know anything about gutters.
nothing.
Like, and he would call me and I'd be like helping him out. And I'm like, man, this guy's doing it without
What you
knowing.
thought
Yeah.
needed to be in place.
Yeah. And so like seeing that. And so there was some back pressure from my wife. And I see the system working at this point for Luke. And I also, we wanted to travel. It was on like we wanted to travel the country.
So this
in an
is,
RV. So I
when
wanted
did
to
the
leave.
pressure really kick in? 2020?
Yeah, like 2020. Well, we went in 2021. So it was like December of, 2020. So like 2021, remember the conversations with you. Hey, do you think I can leave? This is me plugging the
Late
holes.
2020.
Yeah.
You're like, Ryan, Beck wants to go on a 3-month trip in an RV. And that kind of stuff breaks my brain.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a systems guy. I'm like, if this is in place, this is in place. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude. I'm like, when? You're like, April. I'm like, what about July? Like, I forget whatever date you said. I'm like,
It was
maybe a little bit more time.
Yeah. It was like May 1st.
And then talk about that. Like, so that trip came about, and then take us to the trip
Yeah. So the idea of the trip was to take this RV
that you don't have.
that we don't have, that we haven't bought, and take this across the country.
For how many? For a day?
For 3 months.
3
So
months.
it started 6 months, and I'm like, talked her down to 3 months. So I'm like,
Oh
okay,
my gosh.
that's great. Like, it's just like, man, how do I do this? Like, how do I get my business to where I can leave for 3 months and not go insane, right? So like, we figured out ways to like have our house taken care of. Like, our house is good, So we were just trying. We didn't have the RV. My business was not ready, not even close.
Well, now, what about your business needed to be prepped? Like, what was it that was like keeping you up at night about your business in its current state?
So what was keeping me up is actually the holes that I was plugging.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I have to go in today because I have to do this, this, and this because no one's going to do it for me.
Gotcha.
Or it's not that I can just add that to somebody. No one knows how.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So no one knows how to do it as
Yep.
well as you do. Right?
Yep.
And so there was not that bleed. I had the office covered. I really spent money, and I hired Andrea, who is a boss lady.
Yep.
So she was running the office. So
Yep.
she was cleaning up things. She cared. Like, you could tell she was losing sleep.
That's awesome.
Like, she was thinking about gutters on her own time.
Yep. Yep.
So that's when you get the good people. Like, and I've always had like sort of like a struggle with the administrative position, right?
Yeah.
Beforehand. Yep.
They have a lot of access to things.
Yeah. So Andrea was the cornerstone of like the snowball effect of good people.
Awesome.
I had good installers.
Yep.
But just like there was just like one like little piece missing.
Okay. So that killer admin.
Yes.
So you knew you needed a killer admin. You got the killer admin. And you got a couple other pieces in place.
Yes.
Right? And I remember you saying to me, I can't remember how I asked you a question. You're like, dude, if you want to get your business in order, plan a 3-month trip.
That's right.
Like, you said something like that. You know, you want to get your business in order, plan a 3-month trip. Because it forced you. There were certain other things that you did, and without talking about people and certain things in a negative light, there were some things that you had to do and decisions that you were dragging your feet on for a while, and you did them all.
Yep.
You made every hard decision, every uncomfortable conversation.
Yep.
Come to light.
Early. It just came out.
Did it.
Right. So like that same thing with Mario was saying, same thing when you're doing sales. Like, talk about the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Like up front, like the stuff that you don't want to talk about, or the person you don't want to fire that's just sucking you dry.
Yep.
And it's just like, you think you need them for that because, you're basically a monkey over a barrel.
Yep.
Like, you know, so to move on, Jeremiah. So I don't want to leave him out.
No. So Andrea key hire.
Yeah.
That wasn't good enough to get you out of town.
That's right.
So now Jeremiah.
Yeah. So Jeremiah came in. He was at church. Like I already thought Andrea was a little bit better. She was a manager at Lowe's, like making good money. Like I thought, and Jeremiah was like running our entire church production. Like
it's crazy.
Just,
Did they kick you out of the church after taking their key people?
No,
not yet.
Not yet.
That's good.
So, but like they were like, you think your business is not good enough for a certain kind of person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they're better than I can't hire them. I can't afford to pay them. Right. Or, you know what I mean? Like you hire that one person and then they talk and they say, oh, it's so awesome to work here. Like he's like making moves and like, I think they talk and they see the rocket ship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like once you're always moving, you're always doing something, you're trying to get better and they see you investing in them. And so like I hired Jeremiah. He came on.
Yep.
He's this great culture guy. Like
he's
good
awesome.
Good in the field. Like good with the guys. Like good communicative. Like, and then all of a sudden we get another guy. Like from them talking. Like, hey, it's crazy. Like, hey, get on this rocket ship. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you get these people that you feel like are a lot better than your company, but you start thinking. Like you change your mind, you got to change your mindset that like, hey, we are the best. like we're a small company. Like instead of saying we're just a gutter guy.
Yeah.
We're not just a gutter guy. We're like everything but gutters.
Okay.
So like, it's like they hire, like, it's just like a contagious rolling ball, like where you hire one guy, they keep coming. You hire another guy. And it's like, hey, soon enough, I'm asking anybody. I don't care what job they have. I'm like, do you want to be a part of this? It's so cool. I love it. Right?
So back up just a little bit.
All right.
Prior to my sister saying we're going away for 6 months, you talk her down to 3. It sounds like because of what state your company was in, where you're fixing everything and you're kind of keeping it all together, you actually didn't have the confidence to attract good people.
That's right.
It's almost like you were settling up for fixer-upper people for your fixer-upper company.
Yeah.
And you had to shift your whole mindset and getting that killer admin. Do you think it came before getting her or after? Like where you're like, you know what? This is a freaking great place to work. Like, what am I doing?
It came after.
It was her.
Yeah.
So it was that key hire that kind of built up your belief meter. Like I think of Elf.
Yeah.
Trying to get that sleigh to fly.
Yeah.
And like your belief meter's going up.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And she grabbed it.
Yeah.
And now you're grabbing it. And now you're going like, bring your husband or bring this person or come on. I don't care how much you make, come to the brothers.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's huge. I think that's such a key part of this transition. I love that.
And I do remember like her, Andrea, she, like one day she just said, I feel so valued here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what? I'm like, what am I doing? Right?
What specifically?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I keep
know.
doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. And when somebody does that, how much more do you want to continue to making them feel valued?
Yeah.
It's like it perpetuates what you've developed. And now you got this guy, Jeremiah. And if I remember correctly, his first day on the job was the conference.
Yeah, first day.
So
didn't know anything about
this. Is all coming to a head. Your trip, it was when?
May 1st.
May 1st. The conference was March 3rd, I think, if I remember correctly. So now you've got your killer admin. I believe you got some sales. You got your sales in order, your fields in order, and you got this guy that you're hoping.
Yeah.
He's your key to not being attached to your phone on your trip.
For sure.
And you bring him to conference.
Yep.
And then just kind of get us right up to you leaving for your trip. Then we'll take a tiny break.
Yeah. So basically, I'm still calling Ryan. I'm like, hey, I got a really good admin. Ryan's like, oh, you need.
I've heard this before.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, and then like I've hired a guy, like he's going to start. It's going to be perfect. like, you think I can get him ready in 2 months? He's like, no way. He's like, no way. So I took him to the conference. I basically tied a string around my hip and Jeremiah's hip, and he did everything, like saw everything that I did, and probably like learned some good and bad things.
Yeah.
You know, and so I remember taking him to the conference. We put him out on a truck with San Antonio.
Yes, he went out. I forgot that.
Yep. So he didn't know anything about gutters. You know, and he was a ministry major, so every ministry majors they major in people.
Yeah.
So he was really good with people. Like I remember hiring him from the church, and it was like, oh, everybody was like kind of like a gut check because he's such a good culture guy.
Yeah.
Like he's just. Yeah,
so a guy like that definitely can leave a hole where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know? You're like, oh, does he know anything about gutters? Nope. You know, so it's like, it doesn't matter. Right?
Yeah.
Everything but gutters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So he came in and, he learned it super fast.
Yep.
He learned the guys. You know what I mean? He gained respect. Can you imagine bringing somebody in to be, you know? And
here's a guy that's never done gutters, and he's your boss.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
And he might even be younger than you.
That's what I was the most scared about in my head, in the head trash and stuff like that. That was probably like he needed to earn the respect of the guys that had been doing gutters for me for 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And it sounds like he did.
He was a success at it.
So end of the conference. Then I think he had to finish out his job, if I remember correctly. So you had like maybe a month and a half before you were gone.
Correct.
So the RV trip is finally here. You got your business as ready as possible. You've got like 3 key new hires that haven't, it's not like they've been there for 10 years and you're going away. Things are probably fragile on the outside. Like, here's hoping, dear God, let this work.
Yes.
And you guys literally getting this ridiculously awesome lettered RV.
Yes.
That thing came out awesome. And you hit the road.
That's right.
What was that like? And then take us through that, like being away.
Yeah, it was great. Like when we pulled out, and I'm like, man, we're really doing this. Like, I'm really leaving. Like, this is a reality. We started packing the RV up, and I'm like, wow. Like, now I got to drive a 40-foot RV across the country. I was like, I thought this was less work. No. But anyway, we pull out, and I really felt good about it. I felt good that not only they were operating without me for the month before.
Because you were renovating.
Yeah.
So you kind of almost had a trial run of not being there because you were fixing this thing up to go.
Yeah. So I wasn't around, like, and they would be questions. They'd be like, how are we going to do this? Like, what's going to happen? Like, okay. And then I would just jump back in and kind of like, and it was a mindset thing too, where I was like, man, I had to prepare my office a little bit for better stuff.
Yeah.
Like better systems.
Yeah.
And so not only bringing in better caliber people, I had to up my office game a little bit. So like I would handle those questions here and there. But yeah, it was running pretty well, like just renovating the RV. And so when we left, it was almost like, thank goodness. Like, I finished this, and I loved all the people that were still working. Like, you know what I mean? Have you ever, it's almost like you got that person in the back of your head. You're like, man, I should probably get rid of them. They're a cancer. Or, you know what I mean? But they're so good at something. Like, I don't want to do it. There's somebody out there.
You're like, maybe that cancer won't spread.
Yeah. Right? And so, but I loved everyone.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And so I felt really good.
That's great.
And I probably wouldn't have left if I didn't do that.
Or you would have been coming back way more often.
Yes.
All right. So pull out of the driveway.
Yeah.
And you guys are gone.
Yep.
Overall, how much interaction or what did your business do or feel like while you're on the road? Was it an everyday thing that you were worried about?
No, I would check in like any other thing. Like I would check in.
How
like
often?
Probably like when we first left, probably 3 times a week. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just want to see how it was going. Did you, just to cross the box.
Multiple, like a couple different people?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Just so like, hey, just want to make sure we were ordering material we usually order on this day. Like, you know what I mean? Like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 weeks in, yeah, it was like once a week. They're like, and most of the time it's a success call, not like
Them reaching out to you to
Yes.
just tell you something cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I hired this guy.
Man.
So they started hiring. So where before I would do the interviewing. And so then they start doing all the hiring. And I'm like, they would call, be like, hey, I hired another guy. He's got experience. Like he was great. Said, you know what I mean? So it would be like, now we're at 3 trucks.
That's
like
awesome.
We were at 2 when I left. So.
And I remember noticing something that like you are actually a better coach than a doer.
Yeah.
Like I remember you said something, I don't know if we were together or if you told me, you were looking at the budget or something. You're like, Jeremiah, you got to be interviewing. We got to go to another couple people.
Yeah.
And you like said something to me like, dude, I've always known that I'm supposed to do that stuff, but I never really did it. It was like you saw all the things and you had the people to execute. And you were like, I remember just being impressed that you were able to like, I think you said there's a big gap between knowing and doing.
Yes.
And when you had the right people in place, like all your business instincts were awesome and the team just carried it out.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, he's like, yup, I got 4 interviews for next week. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he made it happen.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like, I would always talk about it, but I wouldn't do it because I don't know if you're
Or wait a little too long.
Yeah, waited too long, or like you're a little scared of the money, and like, you know what I mean? You take the money out of it that we hold on to.
Yeah.
That we don't want to, we're not ready to hire.
Yeah.
You're always ready to hire, right?
Always.
So
always
like
ready to hire.
you hold on to it and it's like, no, they don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
They know the budget, they know stuff like that, but like they don't see what's in there. So it's like, oh yeah, we need to fill this truck. We need to hire a good guy instead of dragging your feet. It's like, man, it happens so much faster.
It does.
Get out of your own way, right?
Seriously. So now let's talk a little bit like dollars. Prior to 2020,
Mm-hmm.
you were shy of $1 million.
Yeah, 950.
Still have, yeah.
It was like always. Like,
Yep.
I think the year before that was 920.
Yeah. Just shy of $1 million.
Yep.
You then had kind of a rebuilding year. You got Andrea late 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You're into 2021. Second quarter, you leave for 3 months.
Yeah.
You got a fairly new leadership team.
Yep.
How'd they do?
1.45 million. So no, it would wait 1.48 million. So
almost 1.5.
Yeah.
So you had to get out of the way,
Yep.
let people do it, and be the leader. That's unbelievable.
It was so great. It was like so nuts when I think about it.
It's
like,
crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and so our goal,
But it does.
Yeah, so our goal was like 1.2. So then before the last quarter, we were like, man, we got to redo this. Do you think we hit 1.5? So we like reforecasted for 1.5, which they would have hit that. We would have hit that.
Yeah.
We ran out of. It was a supply chain issue.
It kind of hit you.
Couldn't get some black because we had a ton of black jobs at one time. Couldn't get the material in fast enough. And at that point, I'm driving. I would drive to DC 3 hours away to try and buy everybody out of black and trying to make this happen.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was so great to see that and be like, oh, we hit. It was not like Jeremiah was like, oh, we're not gonna hit 1.5. I'm like, we hit 1.4. And I wasn't here for 3 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe if you went
did
for 6, they would have done it.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
So, tell me about like when you got back.
Yeah. So
like what felt different?
So 3 months, we go California all the way to Glacier.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, we
Hold
didn't
on.
even touch any of that.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about your being away. And you mentioned earlier about getting your house ready.
Yeah.
Like, why are you getting your house ready?
So like we were Airbnb in our house. And so we do it like just on like short, like we're like a short. So like 3 to 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we just charge like a lot and have less people, but more money.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps with like the pool cost and like landscaping and while we're away. Well, it had actually rented out more than we thought it would. And so as we're going away, we're traveling to all these places, and the business we're not even worried about. We stopped worrying about the business because there was nothing to worry about.
So brothers gutters.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're fine.
Yep. So the Airbnb was more worry than
So you ended up flying home at one point, right?
I did. When we got up the coast of California to San Francisco, we had friends in Salt Lake City. And so I didn't want to leave Becca alone in the RV or whatever. So we took it in for an oil change, got some work done on the RV. We stayed with our friends in Salt Lake, and I flew out for 3 days
to save the brothers that just do gutters?
Nope. Didn't go there.
You didn't even go.
Yep.
You just went home and fixed whatever
Yep.
the thing is with the house that was getting the Airbnb all messed up.
I
That's
changed the dishwasher.
Yeah,
Did a couple of things around the house. But yeah, I didn't even hardly go to the shop.
So when you did finally get back, the trip's over, and you go to work.
Mm-hmm.
What did that feel like?
Oh, it was so. I mean, at one point I could not wait. Like I was just like, you're just tired of not taking showers.
I don't think that's ever happened to you.
Yeah. If there's water, it counts as a shower. But like, you got the shower. I get in the truck to go to work, and I'm like, I have nothing to do. Like, usually there's like an item to do. Like, man, we've been waiting for you this whole time. There was only one item, and it was put up our sign in the front. So when I
you became a landscaper for your own company.
I became a landscaper. I was the hired hand. And so when I got there, all I did was landscaping. I was like the maintenance guy. Because Jeremiah he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going out on the truck. I'm going with the guys today. Hey, I'm going out with our new sales guy training. And I'm like, oh, I basically say, hey, what do you need me to do today?
Put me in, coach.
Yeah. So I was trying to get a heartbeat on what, on my business and get back into it. And so the only way I knew is to start landscaping. So I landscaped we put rock.
It's beautiful.
Dude, we did.
I think you have the nicest Brothers Gutter sign.
Yeah. And
I think
we got a nice sign with cedar posts, and it was super fun.
Nice.
Just to like take time and do those things that you always wanted to do, that you always want to have. And like, cause you want people to come to that nice shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels it feels like it's easier when you can have someone interview at a shop like that versus a previous shop where you're kind of selling all vision.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you're selling all vision.
For sure.
For them to kind of buy into you as you're growing it. And now you're kind of like, you don't have to dial up the vision as much. You're like, come on. Don't you want to work here?
Right here. The caliber of people that you get come into a space that feels like home, and they're like, man, this guy really invest in his tools, trucks, shop, people. And like, you can't,
I like that.
So like, you can say it all you want to, but it doesn't speak like action. Like when the guys want something in the field, are you getting it to them?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need this ladder standoff. Like,
yep.
You know what I mean? Like that speaks more than like anything.
Yeah. Otherwise it's, as a business owner, you cannot make any promises you don't fulfill.
Yeah.
You make one promise as simple as like, oh dude, I'll get you a new drill.
Yeah.
And don't do it.
Yeah.
It kind of, it actually puts a light on every other thing you say.
Yeah.
And if you're like, yep, guys, we're hoping to, increase pay soon. It's like, no, they don't do any, like before you know it, like you look like you don't do any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. So what did you learn from your trip and about putting leaders in place?
I learned a lot. I learned everything that I had done in the past, like holding on to those things that you didn't need to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
Money being the most, right?
Yeah.
So, paying a guy 17
mm-hmm.
and paying a guy 22,
mm-hmm.
not much difference. Like in your bottom line, in your cookbook.
No, means the world to them.
Yep. In your trusting that, like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like there's a greater picture. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Where we talk about belief, like belief in a system. I saw it happening. I saw the leadership work without me. Like, you know what I mean? Your business is running without you. I could not believe that it could happen.
Do you think
I don't know if it was confidence or arrogance that I didn't think it could do without me, but it did better.
It could be both. It's just because we've never done it.
Yeah.
But do you think it would almost like, in order for people to step up, we have to step out?
Yes.
Whether they're great or not before that.
Yep.
Do you think we just got to get out of the way sometimes and let them make their own mistakes a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure they made mistakes. You know what? I didn't hear about it.
Which is great. They fixed it.
Yeah.
They cleaned up the broken glass.
Yeah. Right? I know they did. I know that there were mistakes made. But guess what? They handled it. We search out reviews enough that we would know anything that really happened,
If it was big enough,
Yeah.
it would be there.
Yeah.
Then you got it all. You finally figured it out.
Yep.
You got Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia running like a top. You're probably going to do over $2 million this year and 3 or 4. Like, you're going to continue to grow. And you're finally smooth sailing. You got leadership. They really don't need you.
Yep.
You're like landscaping because you feel like you got to do something. And then you go do something ridiculously insane.
Absolutely.
And you're like, you know what? Why don't I start another franchise location in Virginia Beach?
Yeah.
It's only 4 hours from my house.
That's right.
Like,
It seemed perfect.
my goodness. Tell, what in the world were you thinking?
Oh, I was not. I mean, I was thinking like, man, I can do this and be away for 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not about it's about systems. It's about I can hire the people to do the same thing that I just did.
Yep.
In 3 months.
Yeah.
Now I don't have I don't have a deadline.
Yeah.
Now I can do it right the first time, and invest the money. This time is a lot different because
You have the money. You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
some credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have some credit. And so, where I started with nothing, now you can lean on your Lynchburg people that can train,
Yeah.
that can rinse and repeat.
Yep.
Right. And so, it seemed like a no-brainer
Mm-hmm.
because once again, the team that I have, they want to start from the ground up. Only not because of anything other than they think it would be fun.
That's crazy.
They're like, we
love
want to,
it.
because we were sort of established, before they got there, but they want to be a part of it, from the ground up.
Yeah. So you had this great analogy you shared the other day about what it's like to start a new business.
Oh yeah.
If you don't remember, we have a cheat sheet right here.
Nice. I love it. Are you talking about the glacier?
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah. So when we were out in Glacier National Park, all the water that runs off the rivers, the waterfalls, the lakes, they're all formed from snow melt from glacier. So the water is about 40 degrees, right? So we would always go on these hikes and, showers are limited. So anytime there was a water, I would try to jump in just because, I didn't like showering in the camper because it was too small, but I would jump into the cold water. And so, when we were talking yesterday, I compared it to that. A new business is where you're I call it a little bit no half stepping, but it was sort of you're standing there and the water is freezing. It has nothing to do with height of the jump. It's always a little scary, but people are watching, everyone's watching, right? These hikers are going through, you're going to jump into this 40-degree wet water and it's going to hurt.
Oh yeah.
It hurts bad. So, and you play it off. When I remember jumping into this water, my kids wouldn't jump into it. They need some I got to
Either throw them or
I would bet them. I would wager money to get them in the water. But it's jumping in, and as soon as you hit, man, it is so painful. You try to play it off like it doesn't hurt, I got this, and you're you're just breathing hard, and you're oh my goodness, this hurts so bad. But you don't want to get out. You don't want to get out. You want to stay in there, but you're man, I could die in here.
But why do you want to stay in there? To convince someone else to jump?
Yeah. right? So you're playing it off. You're like, oh man, you got to I'm trying to get Becca to jump in. So she's like, I did it before, but she caught on. She's like, dude, she's trying to hide your face, right? So I get out and it's like, man, you're freezing, but it's hot outside. So then you warm up. But man, as you're walking back, your body feels so good. Glad you did it. You know what I mean? It's like, and owning a business is the same way.
Yeah.
Like if you just put your toe in, you're not going to like it.
And you're not going to go.
And you're not going to do it.
You're never going to go all the way in.
Nope. And
like that's where you said no half stepping.
Yeah. No half stepping. So like if you just jump in, deal with it, grind it out.
Yeah.
Like when you're walking back to the car, it's going to feel good.
Yeah.
Like you're going to feel so refreshed. You're going to be like, man, remember when?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I was like, all that head trash is going to come out. Like, and it's coming out every day still for me.
Yeah.
Like going to Virginia Beach. Like there was no place to have an office.
Yeah.
There's no place. So there was no rent. Same thing. Like, and then I talked to somebody like, why don't you just buy a place? I'm like, what? I'm still like a normal, like I don't have like a lot of cash. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. And I look at you start looking at it and you're like, I bought a 5,000 square foot warehouse.
That's unbelievable.
Are you kidding me? In Chesapeake, in like one of the best areas.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that mindset, like, all right, I'm not half stepping here.
No.
Guess what? My team sees that.
Yeah.
They're like, this guy's.
Just a couple of years ago, you would have never done that.
No, never. I would have been like, I would have been at a storage unit, operating out of a truck. Yeah, lifting it out of my truck bed. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
So it's like, it's so funny how the person, like, I grow, and I get challenged right now.
Oh my gosh!
You
I'm
know
sure
what
you
I
have a
mean?
couple like, well, should I have
Like,
done this?
Oh man, it's crazy.
But you're in.
Yeah,
You're in the water.
There's only one way.
Yeah. And that hit me so hard. When you shared that, it is a lot like franchising, right? When people that have never done gutters and they're looking at guys that have made it through the cold water.
Yeah.
Like, well, Jeremiah built this beautiful home. You went away for 3 months. Like, he started another location. They see that,
Yeah.
right? But they don't realize that you jumped off a cliff.
Yeah.
You jumped in the water.
Yeah.
And then you're like, come on, join me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of franchisees are, is when they jump in that water and they go, holy crap,
Yeah.
this is cold, or this is hard, or I don't know if I can stay in.
Yeah.
Right? But when they get out of that water
Yeah.
and they go, wow, I actually feel really good. I got energy.
Yeah.
And I just loved it, because I think a lot of people are surprised by startup. Startup is tough. And we're going to kind of dive in a little bit about what it's like to start again after you know what you already know. But I don't know. I just thought that'd be like a cool aside for anybody who's just jumped into franchising or buying a business. You got to go all in, because if you dip in your toe, you're never going to see the capacity of what it can do.
No.
So you go all in, and when you get out to that other side, it's unbelievable what you can feel like and achieve and go on to do. All right. So you're a week away from officially opening your second location, 4 hours from Lynchburg in Virginia Beach. What makes you think that you're going to do in the first year in Virginia Beach what took you over 10 years to do in Lynchburg?
Yeah.
How are you doing it? You're going to do you're shooting for $1 million in your first 10 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Easy.
you doing it? Easy. I love it.
is.
How? Give me your plan.
So I'm going to jump in that glacier water really fast.
Yeah.
So out the gate, ain't no half step in here. We go on to get some money.
Yeah.
Right. Lots of capital, to make it happen fast.
Okay.
Hire the right people.
Yep.
My first 2 hires were a GM, and then awesome admin.
Yep.
Right. So that 1-2 punch, I've seen it work. It does work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
like that.
and then now we're going for our install team.
Yep.
So, and training. And, you know, like along this path and journey, like I have called you and Kenny.
Yeah.
And been like, hey, what do you think? Like, let's, like, if I'm jumping in this full blow, what do you do? Oh, here, just do this, and go. I'm like, all right, we're going to do it. You know? So it's like, get the capital, hire the right people, get the space, invest in the space, invest in the people. It's like, and then we're here in New York training.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome that even though you've done that, you're the original Brothers That Just Do Gutters. You're launching another location and you brought your whole entire team, a lot of expense, hotel, food, flights, to come here to New York to train.
Yeah.
Can we kind of do like a contrast, like 2009 training versus 2022?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
2009 training was me coming up for 2 weeks, hanging out, seeing like all the different moving parts. Like I sat through all your meetings. Like you still were doing meetings.
Yeah,
You
we
guys
had
were
some
still,
stuff doing
like,
all right.
Like sales meetings and like whatever. Jonathan had a little bit of experience because he did
sales.
he install? He did sales.
He did sales.
So he sold for a little bit and he's super handy. So like he had like that. I knew nothing about gutters in 2009.
Turns out you were afraid of heights.
Yeah. Turns out I was afraid of heights on this 4-pitch, like 15 foot off the ground raised.
It's kind of
bench.
like going up a ramp.
Yeah.
It's that low.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like I was playing like limbo with all fours, just like
we thought he was Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man in it on the side. And like just going through that and then, you know, making fun of me trying to cut through a downspout that first time, you know.
Because that's the best encourager.
Yeah, that
you
is.
just make fun.
Yeah, it's great.
But you
no, it was
camcorded
great.
the whole thing.
Yeah, I did. I took a video just so I could see what I was doing. And then I didn't even know it came out of a gutter machine and then it could be continuous. Like I didn't own a house.
Surprise at the first job.
Yeah.
So you were already in, but you really didn't have a clue.
No, I was just jumping.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of jump. But like, I remember seeing that for the first time and I'm like, man, this is crazy. So then, I'm so glad to be here to see it. Like
to see version
oh man
3.0.
Yeah. So to see it now is to see the training room. And
so
then,
do like a kind of like paint a picture for whoever's listening, the two listeners, my mom and my brother. To paint a picture of like what it looks like now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we, you know, came up like, it's like so much hospitality. Like it feels like where before, like I was an actual brother and it was kind of like, oh, we're going to go out to lunch. What do you think? You know, but now it's like, oh, like we come up, there's like structure. It's like you have this training room. There's like it's like unbelievable. Like we're going to build that when I get back to Virginia Beach.
Such a cool station.
Yeah. After we finish our conference room, like I talked to Zach. I'm like, what do you think about that? He's like, yeah, can we build this?
Love it.
So we're building it. Like getting ideas. Like even like 12 years in, like I still have some takeaways. Like I talked to Mario for 5 minutes in the hallway. Like not in a
gold.
Yeah. And I got like 3 or 4 takeaways.
Yeah.
So it's like, and there's structure. There's like, they split things up like installers. Like I am just disappointed that I didn't bring more installers up. You know, that's, you know, that.
Would you send existing installers from Lynchburg up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeremiah's coming up. So Jeremiah will come up probably in March, April. He wanted to come up this time. Just like now we're like divide and conquer.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
So he's going to come in March and I still want Andrea to come up too, just to see, just to talk, like get those nuggets and like, and share nuggets that we might have.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, we're better in a pack.
Mm-hmm.
And so like,
and there was a lot of kind of stuff that you had to do before even getting here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I know it's a lot. That's okay.
So it was like the Monday thing. And I'm like, I get like halfway through it and I'm like calling all the the originals, like the
The
20
OGs.
the OGs, the 21. I'm like, man, I forgot how hard this was. Like just getting the licenses and the just going through all the red tape, the you know, phone number, like, I mean, Google, like all that stuff, man, like getting it lined up. I mean, that list is like, I thought Zach was going to quit, my GM. I thought he was going to he was like, this is overwhelmed. I had to text him during the middle of the call and say, hey, don't worry, we got this.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's just, you forget, because you kind of, it's a rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
You go, oh crap, I didn't know I needed that.
Yeah.
And like you're learning over time and implementing, and we're kind of just saying, here's the list of everything you need to do to be $1 million business in a year.
Out the gate.
Out the
and
gate.
so you do those things that I did over probably a year, you know?
Yeah.
How legit was I? I don't know. But like those are things that happen like so slow. Now it's like you have this training and you have like all these people that did it, and you're like, you can do this in a month. Like
it's a lot of work in a month, but it can be done.
Oh, we did it in a month.
Did you do the hiring training? Did Brandon do that little webinar with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
so like,
fantastic.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like the amount of what we did, like it was just like, man, my activity level is nowhere near what it used to be. So now it's changed, you know?
Yeah.
I know Ken talks about that a lot, like activity level. You don't like your results, increase your activity level.
Yeah.
Like
it's
whether
true.
Thinking about it, doing it, whatever.
What advice would you give to a brand new franchisee?
Yeah. I know we talked about this. It's like, and they ask that when we do these calls, like when they first are about to sign up.
Yeah, like a validation call.
Yeah,
They're
validation call, yeah.
They're like, all right, before I sign, tell me all the worst stuff ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, oh, it's easy. You just got to go in with belief.
Yeah.
Like, trust the system. Like, you did all this. What do guys do? When you want to buy a bike or buy something, you go in and you say, man, I'm going to research this like crazy. Like, I'm going to know what the best shocks are, what the best this, what the best that, right? So then there's franchise no different. It's a lot more money.
Yeah.
So you spend all this money, do all this research, like, and you're like second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like buyer's remorse. That's what happens. Like, even I have to fight it.
Yeah.
Like I have to fight it and be like,
why
no,
did I just buy? I bought a building.
Yeah, I bought a building.
I haven't even hung a gutter yet.
Yeah.
We're having dinner in New York.
Yeah, I don't even know if this is gonna work. And I'm a good gutter guy in Virginia because it's a small town, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, gosh, like is it gonna work? Like, why second guess something that you researched so well?
Yeah.
Like you have the support that you need.
Yeah.
Right? Because you guys support more than any other franchise out there.
That's what we're told.
Yeah. So guarantee that they have the support. They want you to succeed like a brother, right?
Yeah.
They have more support than what I had in 2009, your own brother-in-law.
Sorry.
Right? But you know what I'm saying? But like,
no, yeah. It's only gotten better.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have dedicated people to
my
do
goodness.
anything.
Yeah, it's so great.
You had a video that you probably wore out on how to do gutters.
Yeah.
That you took.
Yep, for sure. I'm like, it's
Oh,
crazy.
that's awesome.
So like, no half stepping.
No, that's cool. And you did have a couple other things that we wrote down. If you look down there, you talked about like patience versus panic. What's that about?
Yeah. So like, I don't know what that's about. No, patience versus panic. So like you spend the money, like just have patience and belief in what's happening. So like, instead of being result oriented, you're process oriented. Because guess what? If you're going through the processes, like, and you're checking the boxes and you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing as you're getting to that result, it's going to happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Like the levee will break. You will be smiling walking up to the car, refreshed, feeling 10 years younger because you stayed the course.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, you're not result oriented. Like, I know that right now I'm not looking to make money on Virginia Beach. I know that whatever.
Yeah.
If I want to, we need to do more.
Yeah.
But like you,
Well, you
I
have a
don't.
realistic expectation now.
Yeah.
You're like, if I'm going to invest this much up front, take out this money, get it going to $1 million, that's 3 trucks, that's a bunch of people. You're realistic now about your expectation.
Yep.
If you wanted to make money, you'd move to Virginia Beach. Like if you want to make money day one,
Yeah.
and you do it all yourself again.
Yeah.
To just grind it out for another 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is, why do that?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like you peek above the clouds. You go, oh my gosh, I know how to do this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a long time the first time, but it doesn't have to the second time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
so
like,
cool.
I know that there's a process, and I know there's an end result. Might be 2 years.
Yeah.
Year 2. It
Yeah.
might be where you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
going to be that much sweeter because we're providing something not for other people, but for our own people.
That's it.
Right?
I love that. If you're just worried about taking care of your people, everything else will take care of itself.
Yes, for sure.
And you've built what people call, in 2 instances now, you've got a semi-passive business in Lynchburg where it's kind of like a flywheel. You know, it's going, and you just kind of tap it once in a while to make sure it's going, or maybe twice once in a while if it needs to a little bit more, but the energy is already there.
Yeah.
You don't have to like every day move it from still. And you're about to, now you're at the flywheel again. You're pushing it, right? It's not going anywhere yet, but in a month or 2, it'll be going. And then by that year, you know, you'll start seeing that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
And what makes this training so great too is you can bring people who've already, like, you think like 1.4, they did it. They arrived it. They did it without.
They're through. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah, they did it without me. But I had a conversation. I don't want you to be outgrown by what you've built.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So you can come up, like, you need to see what a $3 million, you need to see what a $4 million company looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because
So,
that'll
like,
you them. When
yes.
They go, we want that.
Yeah.
Love
Or
it.
it's like, oh, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like you need this person here. You need that person there. So it's like you're constantly like, you want to build them up to do better, to do, not that they didn't do good, but just like, hey, look, I don't want to have this conversation when things are outgrowing you.
Yeah.
Like we got to constantly work on this.
True.
Like it's like me, like,
Yeah.
you know, I was stuck for a long time.
Yep.
Like, oh, I'll just do 800. You know how many times I'll just do 800. It's cool. Like I make enough. It's great. I work. Like I sweat a little bit. Like I'm plugging holes. Like I enjoy it, but like I can really enjoy it and they don't need me. So like, how cool would it be that I'm on a job, but they don't need me? I can just go there and hang out.
But you just want to do it because you like it.
Yeah. Like,
love it.
you know, no
Yeah,
pressure.
absolutely.
It's like, that's way better.
That's cool. So we've learned a lot today. You know, starting over, it's so much faster. You've already learned it. So doing it again is that much faster. Patience versus panic, having those tough conversations early, not waiting a couple years to have a tough conversation with somebody who's not a good fit.
Yeah.
Believing. I think that was probably my biggest takeaway from this is like, I don't realize that sometimes people don't even believe in their own business or ability, and that's what's actually stunting their growth. It's not that there's not good people.
Yeah.
We're almost afraid to attract the good people because
Yeah.
we don't feel we're good enough. I love that. Don't worry about the money. You know, let it go. Money comes in,
Yep.
lands in our hand. Don't grab it.
Yeah.
Just keep your hand open. Let it go.
That's right.
I love that kind of stuff. And the business will treat you like you treat it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love that. So
Yep.
before we conclude, you said you had a question for me.
Yeah, I do. So like, I know when me and Jonathan started up, and it was like, we would always be like, man, is this going to work? Like you and Kenny are kind of telling us what to do and we're not doing it. like there were times where we're like, why don't you just do this?
Yeah.
And so like, I always kind of and we're family. We're
Yeah.
like brother-in-laws and like close. And it was like, and you and Jonathan are close. And so it was like, you were telling us these things and like, we weren't really doing them because we weren't bought in. I mean, I talk to Jonathan all the time. We laugh that we were like, man, is this going to work? Like, man, I need to do some Hillsong stuff. Like I was going to do some house building. It was like, we were sort of like tippy toeing, like putting our toes in. Right.
Yeah.
And so what was it like? What's it like to grow people like you did your brother-in-laws? Like, you know, and it, you know, we can say it's like, oh, I saw somebody do it or that, but it was like, man, how come like we didn't even believe our own brother-in-laws? You know what I'm saying? So what's it feel like to constantly tell somebody? I mean, I know it's like a dad role a little bit, maybe a mentorship.
It is.
And I appreciate all that you guys did.
Thanks.
But what's it like seeing it now? Like Jonathan's over 1.5, like
It's
like the first ones, like
Yeah.
the OGs, like what's it like seeing them buying?
It's like when you always knew someone can do it. So there's like an arc. It was interesting because Jonathan and you are different, but you're the same.
Yeah.
Like when we were trying to get you to do the system we knew work, Jonathan's like, oh yeah, man, that's awesome. I love that. Yet he didn't do it. And you were more like, I don't know, man. Like same exact result.
Yeah.
You know, but Jonathan, you know, was like, oh yeah, I love that. That's so cool. You know, skills ladder, so cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, we should have meetings. You're like, yeah, I had a meeting once last year, you know?
Yeah.
So it was kind of different. And the one thing that I kind of had to learn, and you, I don't know if you remember this, but this, like, it cut me, but it was, I needed this. And when we would talk and we'd always like talk about anything, like, you know, call up. It didn't have to be business. It could be anything. And then we were talking about something, and then I started talking about business and something. And you're like, yo, not every time we talk has to be like a coaching moment.
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh man.
And it hurt, but it was like, I'm an idiot. Like, you're right. You're right. Just because we're on the phone and I can see an opportunity in your business that maybe you're not seeing or ready to see, I was like, holy crap. Like, I felt like not bad and not towards you in any way. It was actually freeing.
Yeah.
It was like, no, not, you know what? When they're ready, I'm here.
Yeah.
When they want the advice that they want, I'm here. And that, I don't know when that was said or what that was, but man, like it, like in my mind, I felt like me knowing that helped our relationship.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. It was definitely like, you know, one of those, like, he's freaking right. Like, you know? And so for me, it's like seeing the potential in somebody and they don't quite see it or believe it. And then I kind of let it go. I'm like, you know what? They'll be able to do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
And then to kind of see it come full circle and the belief meter, like I turned, like that we talked about earlier, to see that come about was just like, it was so awesome.
Yeah.
And that's all I've ever wanted was like, you know, not talking to Jonathan and him stressed about money, or you to be like, dude, I just bought a cool gun today. That just, I never realized how fulfilling your success would be for me, you know? And it took time to prove our model. Yeah. You know, we've improved systems that you adapted some, but not all for varying reasons of some were just too hard with the given staff. Some were maybe it was like a buy-in thing. But then to be kind of seeing full circle, especially like your arc the last year, going from like calling me up going, dude, explain to me all the financial sheets. Yeah. I want to know all of it. Yeah. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. You know, and it taught me a powerful lesson that I don't have to always be the coach. I can be the brother-in-law. Yeah. I can be, you know, but when it's time, you know, it's like it's time. And that's been really cool and fulfilling. Every single franchisee, every single person has an arc. Yeah. And to see that what happened in the last year almost simultaneously, you guys have been very similar, you know, in certain ways. And so that to me has just been like so fulfilling, like you buying buildings and like, starting another location. I'm like, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
this is fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but I think you're starting to see it too with your staff.
Yeah.
There's really nothing more fulfilling than seeing them grow and like them be excited about. I feel like the last couple big jumps we've done in growth was more for my people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really need much more than I have,
Yeah.
and then just to see that they want a little bit more. It's like, oh, Danny wants to be GM. How do I make that happen?
Yeah.
Gabby wants to be here. It's like, then we got to go a little bigger.
Yeah.
And so, so it's been a fun journey. It feels long, but it also feels short.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're talking about 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
It's nuts.
We're only 21 years old. But it is cool. It has been awesome. I wouldn't have ever wanted to do this with anyone other than you.
Nice.
Like, it's
Love
been awesome. It's been a pleasure.
And I wouldn't do it with anybody else, right? It's like, man, and I didn't touch on this earlier, but the training here, like to do the LMS. So like I was thinking, just to rewind, 2009, I remember 2000, this is 2015. We had these booklets and you got to take them through like nobody was doing it.
No, and you did apprentice like a bunch.
Yeah. It's a good starter. I was always a good starter, but like the LMS, just going through that, like through the phone, man, that is so great. Like
awesome.
It's so awesome. Like to have that LMS and clicking through and training and the videos and like the quizzes and like, really, really awesome. Like where it's came, like, I'm so impressed. Like where, like, like Kenny throws out these like crazy, ridiculous idea things. And you're like, that's Kenny. He's a visionary. He's a little wacky, but like all of a sudden it happens and like law of attraction kicks in.
Absolutely.
And like, as crazy as you think Kenny is, like, you're like, we applied it.
We did. We made it happen.
Like you applied it. Like, and it's like so awesome to see that. Like, would I ever have pictured that it would be 90 franchises, like deep, like
at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so awesome. Like,
it's very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, this has been a lot of fun. And I love to see your arc. I think it's so inspirational, and how your approach and everything has changed. And appreciate you coming in, spending time with us.
Yes,
and
I love it.
Continue to grow with the bros.
Yep.